Alright, let me tell you about the weirdest, most surreal day of my life. It all started with a simple hike. I love getting out into the woods, fresh air, birds chirping, the usual. I was deep in the forest, miles from any trail, just enjoying the quiet. I had just sat down for a water break when I heard this rustling in the bushes. I figured it was a deer or a squirrel, so I didn't think much of it. But then, the rustling got closer, and it wasn't a small animal sound. It was heavy. My heart started pounding a little. There, baby. I slowly stood up, trying not to make any sudden moves. And that's when this creature stumbled out from behind a massive oak tree. It was a baby, but not any kind of baby I'd ever seen. It was covered head to toe in thick, dark brown fur. It had these huge, dark, soulful eyes and tiny, little hands and feet. It was a baby Bigfoot. I know how insane that sounds. I froze. My brain just couldn't process what I was seeing. It looked scared and lost, and it let out this tiny, whimpering sound that just broke my heart. It couldn't have been more than 2 feet tall. It looked at me, blinked its big eyes, and then wobbled right over to me. Before I could even react, it reached out with its fuzzy little hand and grabbed onto the hem of my t-shirt. And it just held on. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, completely stunned. A baby Sasquatch was holding my shirt. What do you even do in that situation? There's no manual for this. I gently tried to pull my shirt away, but its grip was surprisingly strong, like a little furry vice. It just looked up at me with those giant, plating eyes, and let out another soft whimper. I couldn't just leave it there. It was clearly a baby, all alone. Where were its parents? Were they nearby? Suddenly, the woods didn't feel so peaceful anymore. Every snap of a twig made me jump. I was terrified at 10 feet tall. Angry parent was about to burst out of the trees. So, what did he do? I did the only thing I could think of. I started walking, very, very slowly, and this little fur ball just waddled along with me, still clutching my shirt. It was the most bizarre parade you can imagine. Me, shuffling awkwardly, and a baby Bigfoot as my tiny, furry sidecar. I tried talking to it in a calm, soothing voice. I was like, "Hey there, little guy. Where's your mom? We gotta find your family." It just looked up at me, tilting its head, as if it understood. We walked like this for maybe half an hour. It was so strange. My fear started to fade and was replaced by this overwhelming sense of, responsibility. This little creature was depending on me. I decided my best bet was to backtrack, hoping its parents were looking for it along the path it had taken. With every step, I called out, "Hello. Anyone looking for a little one?" I felt completely ridiculous, but I had to try something. The little guy, who I had started calling Fuzzy, just kept his grip, his little feet trying to keep up with my slow pace. We passed by a small creek, and he let go for a second to dip his hands in and take a drink. He was so careful, so deliberate. It was fascinating to watch. As soon as he was done, he trotted right back and grabbed my shirt again. It was like my shirt was his security blanket. As the sun started to get lower in the sky, I really began to worry. I couldn't take him out of the forest. What would I do? Show up at home and say, "Honey, I'm home, and I brought a mythological creature with me"? I don't think so. I was starting to lose hope when I heard it. A sound that wasn't me, and wasn't fuzzy. It was a deep, resonant call. Almost like a low-pitched hoot, but with more feeling. Fuzzy's head shot up. His ears perked. He let go of my shirt and let out a series of excited little chirps in response. My heart leaped into my throat. This was it. Another call echoed through the trees, closer this time, and then I saw movement. A massive, shadowy figure standing between 2 giant fir trees about 100 yards away. It was huge, easily 8 or 9 feet tall. My blood ran cold. It was the mother. No doubt about it. She was just standing there, watching us. She wasn't aggressive, just observing. Fuzzy chirped again and started to waddle towards the sound, towards his mom. He'd take a few steps, then look back at me, as if to say, "Are you coming?" I just stood there, rooted to the spot, completely in awe, and terrified at the same time. He got about halfway to her and then stopped. He turned around and looked right at me. I'll never forget the look in his eyes. It was a look of pure, simple gratitude. He let out one last, soft chirp, then turned and ran the rest of the way into the massive, open arms of his mother. She scooped him up, held him close, and then gave me one last, long look. It wasn't threatening. It felt more like an acknowledgement. A thank you. And then, as silently as they appeared, they melted back into the shadows of the forest. Gone. I just stood there, my hand over my heart, trying to breathe. My shirt was still wrinkled where he had been holding it. I was shaking, not from fear anymore, but from the sheer unbelievable reality of what had just happened. I walked back to my car in a daze. The world felt different, bigger, more mysterious. I know people will say I imagined it, that I was dehydrated or just saw a weird bear cub, but I know what I saw. I spent an afternoon with a baby, Bigfoot. He was real, and he was just a scared little kid who needed a helping hand. I've been back to those woods a dozen times since. I've never seen them again, but sometimes, when the wind is just right, I think I can hear a faint, low-pitched hoot echoing through the trees, and I always smile. It's our little secret. It reminds me that the world is full of so much more magic and wonder than we can possibly imagine. You just have to be willing to see it, and maybe let a stranger hold your shirt for a little while. Thanks for listening to my crazy story. If you've had any unbelievable experiences like this, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more adventures. See you next time.